What defining feature of a sailor stands out no matter what he wears? Not a weathered face or calloused hands, but an arm beset with ink, a tapestry of flesh that tells a man's story. The sailor's tattoo is like a uniform he never takes off. But more than just a way to tell a sailor's story, it's heavily steeped in tradition and, of course, superstition. Tattoos have existed, to our knowledge, for around 5,000 years, maybe more. The oldest existing tattoo being dated back to around 3,370 to 3,100 BCE. But the tattoo in Western sailing culture can vaguely be dated back to the mid-1700s. The very famous British explorer James Cook documented in his journals his journeys to the Pacific Islands, where he encountered such cultures as the South Pacific Maori, and observed how they permanently drew on their skin with knives and ink, something the Polynesians called tatau. Many of Cook's sailors got these tattoos themselves as souvenirs, bringing them back to Europe for the Western world to marvel at. It is highly debated whether this did indeed kick off the Western sailing's fascination with tattoos, but if not, it was a major contributing factor. Tattoos grew in popularity for Western sailors after this, and a culture of their own soon spawned, leading to its own traditions. Sailors on long voyages would soon become amateur tattooists, the first tattoos being done using needles and ink made from gunpowder and urine, before more sophisticated inks and tattooing machines were invented. Tattoos began to make up their own meanings, everything to a man's position on a ship, to accolades he had accomplished, to religious and superstitious meanings. Many tattooists became so popular they spun off their own styles, such as the popular artist of the 30s through 70s, Norman Sailor Jerry Collins, one of the most iconic American nautical style tattooists, and the namesake for one of my favorite rums. So what were the most common tattoos? Well, they would denote many things, such as a sailor's job aboard a ship. If you shook a sailor's hand, and on the web of his hand between the thumb and forefinger you saw crossed anchors, it denoted a bosun mate. Crossed guns denoted a gunner's mate. If you saw a braided line or Turk's head on the forearm, it indicated a deck seaman. But in the mid-1800s to early 1900s, little devils indicated someone who worked in the hot hell of an engine or boiler room. Other tattoos showed off accolades that the sailor had accomplished, many involving line-crossing ceremonies, something I may cover in another video later on. If you were to see a dragon on someone, it indicated a sailor who had been to Asia. A golden dragon indicated someone who had crossed the international dateline. A polar bear with a red nose indicated a sailor who had entered the Antarctic, while blue was for the Arctic. Fun fact about me, I qualify for both the blue-nosed polar bear and golden dragon tattoos. I've just not gotten them tattooed on me. Yet. Other tattoos include the shellback and the golden shellback. The shellback meaning someone who has crossed the equator, whilst the golden shellback means the equator and the international dateline at the same time. Some of the most interesting ones include hula girls for a man that's been to Hawaii, be it by sailing there or stationed there, or a fully rigged ship for those that have braved Cape Horn. Other accolades include swallows, used to measure how far a man has sailed, each swallow being 5,000 nautical miles sailed. I'm sure there's a limit to this nowadays, seeing as some naval ships can do this in a single deployment. If a sailor were to get a swallow for each one, after a 20-year career, he'd likely run out of skin to tattoo swallows onto. Superstitious tattoos cropped up in many forms. An anchor to keep a man grounded and steady, a compass rose or north star to make sure a sailor always finds his way, crosses for the religious, sometimes tattooed on the bottom of the feet to protect from sharks. On the top of the feet would be a pig on the left foot and a rooster on the right. This was because pigs and roosters were often transported in wooden crates that floated, so after a ship sank, these animals were commonly found to still be alive, floating at the surface. It was also common to find propellers tattooed on each butt cheek, so a man can motor his way back home in case he should fall overboard or a ship should sink. And finally on the hands, the classic hold fast to help a man keep a good firm grip on those lines. Tattoos didn't start on maritime vessels and sailing men, but they've become so ingrained in the culture that even today the Navy and the US Coast Guard has some of the most lax tattoo policies of all the military branches. A sailor with a tattoo looks as natural as a gull on the wind. It's been that way for centuries, and will likely stay that way for centuries to come. But will a tattoo on your knuckles help you hold a line better? Will a pig and chicken on your feet keep you afloat? Probably not, but better safe than sorry. Any good tattoos that I missed? Got any tattoos yourself from your time at sea? Let me know in the comments, and stay tuned for more superstitions with the Superstitious Sailor. Fair winds and following seas to you, shipmates.